To Ages to Suck, chapter 105. Today's topic is for people who do not really get what the hell is those new age hippies talking about. It's crazy talk. It's not really crazy talk. It actually makes a lot of sense if you at least understand the symbolism behind their language. Like, what do they mean when they say they, and note, I'm using they, and they say those things about age of Aquarius, age of Pisces. What does that mean in real? And actually I am going to translate their own vocabulary in a way that might irritate some of them even, because they never really saw it under that perspective. So, conditioning and what they tend to call cognitive dissonance, meaning really nowadays anything that is depicted in a new light or any new information to make it even more simple to understand. Any kind of new information tends to get people to react like monkeys banging in trees when there is a new monkey in the way. So there is something to it. Now, how do I climb that mountain? That is more like a hill, but I'm going there today while we speak, admiring the beautiful city where I am, and the autistic people have by now pretty much figured and pinpointed exactly on the map where I am while I say those kind words and not so kind. But what do they mean by age of Aquarius, age of Pisces? And again, trigger warning, I will use perspectives that you're not familiar with to the same topic that you believe is the word, that you master. So, and feel free to disagree if you have a new perspective that even I don't have. So there are other perspectives. I'm not denying them. I'm just introducing a new one if you're not familiar with it. I studied a lot of astrology, enough to know that there is a lot of mathematical calculations into it. It is the prelude to astronomy proper, and even Newton used it. As he pointed out, that was how he made money for his real research. So he would go to the court. Newton, Sir Isaac Newton. He would be the fun at parties because he would take the birth date of people, and back then were not really accurate. But and actually there was a lot of faking, like, because of age was everything to be married back in those days. So girls that were getting too old, the parents kind of fiddled or paid someone to fiddle with their birth date, so they would be in paper younger than they were actually in real life. But that's enough of that. Thing is, he made money. He could do the Mathematica Principia with the money he got from drawing astrological charts to court ladies and gentlemen. Lots of gay people. There were always a lot of gay people, which is great. The world would be much less fun without them. So, credit where it's due. Is it here? So, according to many astrologists, and some might digress, we have entered the age of Aquarius, meaning we just left the age of Pisces. Now, my personal view on the matter, or personal conclusions, rather than view, is that the age of Pisces were based, because the whole symbolism of the Pisces in duality, and like there were two fish, usually there's a lot of symbolism related to the stars, the kind of thingy, and it means something, it always means something, or people at least formulate several theories. That's just a star theory. Anyway, is that copyrighted? Anyway, I'm going to make that channel. So the symbolism is the duality. The age of Pisces inferred a lot of duality. Ooh. Where do I get to the... Yeah, I'm going that way. So there's a lot of confusion. And I personally, like people in astrology, they usually praise a lot the star sign of Pisces. They say that, oh, it's all the other star signs combined. Oh, they are so much better. Like they are the culmination of the astrological evolution and all that. And they are probably mostly Pisces saying that. Ooh, something beeping. Just hope they don't blow anything up. So what does that even mean? I was always digressed of it, because every Pisces I found, and please, people of Pisces, don't be offended, but truth must be said, every Pisces I found were kind of murky, and they didn't really mean what they said, and when they said, it was with a lot of emotion instead of actual fact, and it sounded, or it felt like they were trying to manipulate with the right use of emotions at the right time, instead of getting to the point and explaining things flat out. So, and for people who are trying to guess my star sign, why is he saying that? Well, he has a black shirt. That must mean dark sunglasses so nobody can see his eyes. That means he must be Scorpio. And no, and I'm not even closely related. I'm actually their personal hell, their astral hell, call it that. Can I cross here? Yeah, lots of people crossed. Like they just put pitch in the floor, but many people have crossed. Whew. So, what does he mean by that? Thing is, I always found people of Pisces to be quite false. Yeah. So, and definitely not the epitome of the astrological chart, because if the evolution of it would be that we all should aspire to be false, I beg to differ. I really do. I think we should aspire to be the exact opposite, to be correct, to be accurate, to be consistent. But again, maybe it's my star sign saying that, right? No, not really. It is really a matter of facts at the end of the day, if you want a society to improve and not denying them. And I really believe that the age of Pisces, or I have reasons to conclude rather than believe, that the age of Pisces is based in falsity. Like it was an age where religion, that, let's face it, was very important during the age of Taurus, where religion was the state, became the state actually, and not religion. At the same time it was a religion. It's pretty messed up. So the age of Pisces is pretty messed up because of the whole concept behind that specific star sign. or at least how I perceive it. And again, people of Pisces, take no offense. So it's a murky age. I would say, based on its symbolism and representation, that the age of Pisces is like the murky waters where the fish actually thrive, where they tend to reproduce, right? The murky waters are the age of Pisces, where the fish are moving around, flapping their gills. Again, this pertains to the symbolism. When you hear New Age people speaking, they use a lot of symbolism, or they assume that you are aware of the meaning of certain words that they use. Ooh, this is getting dangerous. If I drop my mobile here, I'm fucked. This is beautiful. This is really something. Really something. So it is a shady age, because during that age, and we have the dualism, the fight between the state and religion, where religion becomes the state and the state becomes religion, but they still fight against each other. And it's very interesting in a way, in a horrifying way, because this causes a lot of havoc, and many people die as a consequence. And that age, this is what happened. An age based in falsity, in false principles, and not mostly consistent, in brute force, hidden as what's the word for that? As good suppression and repression, deemed to be or promised to be love and caring, you know. So that age is what I would call as the age of murky waters, the age where shady people were allowed to thrive and lie. And now we are reaching, yeah, I know I'm out of shape. So this is why I'm doing this. I ate too much during the holidays. And this is why we are now reaching the age of consent, literally. The age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius is the equivalent of enlightenment, true enlightenment, not promised enlightenment, so people do what you're bidding. I'm dying here. Wouldn't that be a fun YouTube video? So what does that mean? It means that we will have, in the age of Aquarius, clarification for a lot of stuff that was lost in the veiled struggle for power of the age of Pisces. A lot of it is going to come out in the open. Like, the repression, all the things that we were forced to accept or die because it was God's will or the will of the people, which is not the people, it's the state. It's only the state. So this is where we are going with this. The very symbolism from a fish, or from two fishes, to this man carrying a jar of water. What does that even mean in terms of symbolism? It means many things. Because whenever you look through context, or whenever you look at an image, you really need to understand the context. If we know that back in the days there were only two kinds of people who would bear a jar of water, who would carry water from point A to point B. Only two, really. The others, like, that was not their job. It was a work. A work of who? Who had this work? Well, two people. Women, because they were housekeepers, so they would send the young women to carry water, or because it's not the case with the image that we are presented with a man carrying water, or a slave. Or, not to use that word, because that word has gotten severe connotations across the ages, across at least our current society, until it doesn't. At some point it will stop. I have seen for decades now slavery being pushed back, slowly but surely seeped into our collective reasoning as something that just is. Once again, they are trying hard, and even if it is short-lived, when they really try to push it for good, even if it doesn't subsist, there will be at least one, if not two or three, attempts of bringing slavery back to our civilization. Based on like all the censoring that is ongoing, because they are getting ready to push big bad things, big bad ideas over us. So they are figuring how to shut down any dissent automatically. They are losing, and they are strengthening their grip, and still losing, because this is creating several roots out. But that's what they are trying to do right now. Bring back slavery. Not saying they will achieve it. Depends on us, really. The future we make. But it is a clear image of a submissive, and that's the proper wording for that specific symbolism, for the submissive man. Because only the submissive man, usually portrayed as a slave in other cultures that, despite not being advanced, those were jobs, paid jobs, and not really slave jobs. That was a menial task. So, and can mean that. The symbolism behind it, submissive man. Now we have to look at the origin, because every astrological figure seems to have a myth, origin myth, a story that the symbolism is it's created around to indicate the character, to indicate the specifics, the physical and mental states of those figures. They tend to represent the astrological signs. And in one of the stories, at least, he was the most beautiful man, I believe a prince, who was taken, I believe, to the Olympus, who was transcended to the Olympus by the gods, so he could serve them in their parties, like literally. So this is why he's carrying, I think, in this case, Androsia, the miracle drink of the gods, ambrosia, right? Now, this figure of the most beautiful man in classical language, especially from a culture that used to brag in certain cities. You have to remember, when you're talking about Greek civilization, there was not really such a thing. There were the Hellenic civilizations, where every city was kind of a state with their own rules, with their own culture, and all the homosexuality thing. Like, for instance, the Spartans did not partake in the homosexual aspects of the Hellenistic cultures. In fact, they shunned them. And if you say, oh, but that is evidence, exceptions are not the rules, the rule is not the exception, hence the exception. Therefore, the exception is not the rule. Do you understand? Believe me, there were laws against it in Sparta, but there were not in Athens to a certain extent. And Thebes, the Thebans took it even further. They made it a law where you should be if you wanted to be part of the elite. And I'll get to that. So get this straight, right? Spartans were against homosexuality. I'm not saying what is right or wrong. I'm saying how it is. Reason why, if you want evidence to what are you saying, how can you prove it? Well, Aristotle made it clear. He clearly stated that this was the reason why he decided to flee to Sparta, because he wanted to raise his son in a more manly manner without the homosexual tendencies. Yes, Aristotle apparently was a homophobe, so all this knack that the original philosophers were pedophiles is bullshit, or men lovers is nonsense, because they actually were against it. And the crime that they committed against youth was not that they were going around and fucking them. That's what the Athenians used to do. They used to fuck children. It was part of their culture that as a grown man you would take a child, an imminent child from one of your friends, and raise him as a lover to introduce him into the pleasures of life, and create a privacy bond between the two. Like, they could tell on each other about their lower instincts if it ever needed be. So that's what the Athenians believed. The Spartans just called them gay, fake and gay, and that was one of the issues they had against each other. Well, the Thebans, as I said, they went beyond, because as soon as the boy became a man, the homosexuality kind of stopped, until, of course, it was their time to groom a new kid in the block, let's put it that way. The Thebans, they took it further. They made a law with the creation of the band of 200. Yeah, remember the movie 300? That was a band of 200. The band of 200 where it consisted of 100 homosexual couples, because they believed that they would fight more fiercely if their how can I put it, if their most beloved ones would be fighting with them. It should have been also awesome in the trenches, right, during wars. Like, they wouldn't miss anything. Like, they could just literally butt buddy, military term, by the way, before you think it's offensive, was actually in a butt buddy in the literal sense. So, oh, look at him, he's ashamed when he says that. How cute, how quaint. Anyway, the Thebans would be the ones that would endorse flat out, full-blown homosexuality as something to be praised. Which, again, I'm not saying if there's something right or something wrong. That's the way those societies, those initial societies, one could say that, were trying to figure out what was best for humanity by trying on themselves. So instead of blocking and censoring everything, which they did, they just tossed it to another city. People could flee. If they were not happy, they could move to another city. And that was actually the big advantage that those city-states had over the more developed empires of the time, that kind of made it kind of strictly forbidden and censorers and all that. So this is actually what boosted the ability of the people living in those societies, in the Athenian and Spartan and Theban and all the other cities from the Hellenistic regions into powerful city-states, because they allowed competition, they allowed thriving as an individual. And if you are not happy in that place, you would pack your stuff and leave to another place where you could try your luck and see if it works for you, and so on and so forth. This is what Aristotle did several times over, because the Athenians tried to kill him, I think, more than once. So, unlike Socrates, he decided that he would not let the Athenians sin, as he wrote. He would not let the Athenians sin more than once against philosophy. So he wanted to raise his boy in a more manly, more heterosexual, at least, society. So that was the big reason behind Aristotle moving to Sparta. He did it for his son. He didn't want to see his son being butt fucked by one of his Athenian friends. So, which one could doubt they were really his friends, because they were constantly sabotaging him. They didn't even let him have his own place in the city, because he was not part of the local nobility, and only Athenians, real Athenians, which he was not. He was the son of a doctor that came from another place. Only Athenians were allowed to own. Now you know why. Athenians, now you know why he would start the peripatetic school, that was the walking school. So he would teach walking around town with his subjects, or his pupils, or students, or however you want to call them, teaching them about stuff instead of having a place where he could sit and teach. So yeah, that's an aspect of him. So he got fed up with the whole nonsense of the Athenian society in that sense. They started censoring people, and this is why one of the reasons of their collapse, as I see it. Because what made the Athenians boom was that when they actually kicked the Spartans out, the Spartans had conquered Athens and they kicked them out. They allowed, in reprisal of all Spartan rules and regulations, overrules and over-regulations, because the Spartans were military people, and hierarchy and military law is a bit harsher than average, normal, common civilian law. So there's that. So the Athenians revolted, and they They had about 50 years before the nobles could dump it down again and start castrating their rights, what led to their disaster. They had 50 years to thrive, and what created things like philosophy included, and the sciences and all, because people could compete, and the art got really refined, all in this 50 years spec, that people could just do what they were good at and thrive with it. So yeah, makes you think, right? But the new nobles dumped it down, and then it became the little city once again, at the mercy of the countries around them. But that's not what I'm here for. I'm just giving you the context of the culture. So that probably meant that the man was androgynous. What does that mean? Means that his looks were seductive both to men and women. And many of you are completely unaware of this phenomena, although some are becoming really aware. Today we are kind of being slowly dragged into it by default, because information is just flowing. They're trying to dump it down now. Don't know if they're going to achieve, but they're trying. We have the phenomena of the trannies, of those young teenagers that decide to start dressing as women in a way that it even gets confusing. And I can tell you one thing, never been with one, but I have seen them when I lived in an island, because clothes wouldn't cover most people most of the time, because it was an island and it was really sunny and people were in the beach most of the time. You know that some girls look very manly, right? Like they have no hips, they have no bum, they have no tits, but they have strong arms and legs and a big belly, and like they look very manly. We had one of those kids in school. Like, she's really nice, and I think I have heard, I don't know if it is true, she had a huge crush on me. But she could top the bullies in the school. She was big, tall, and scary. Currently, she's a police officer. What are the odds? And she would put boys to run. She never really went against me. I don't know why. I was terrible. I really was, but in a good way, kind of. I didn't pick in the weak kids most of the time. I did it once, I don't deny it, kind of regret it. Then I realized, okay, some kids, they really, actually, now that I think of it, it was pretty brave of him trying to stand up to me. So, because I was scary as hell, it was crazy. But anyway, and I remember what made me realize was the face of horror and anger in the face of his sister, that I do believe had a crush on me. So I kind of saw her heart being broken, and the whole situation was kind of weird, to be honest. But I was figuring out, I just figured out I was actually strong. So, not just clever, but strong. So I was flexing my muscles, and unfortunately I hit, not her, but her brother. But I hurt some people in the process. And usually when I hurt someone, it makes me realize a lot of stuff. I think it's very human to do that. But anyway, there are not just women that look like men or are very manly, very scary, but there are also some boys that, like without makeup, but just their whole body is very girly. And not that they are gay, you understand? Like they weren't, at least as far as I know. But they have this feminine body, like they really had that kind of, I think they call it in English, violin body, guitar body, like really curves like a woman, large hips and tiny belly, and then it was really interesting because I'm an artist, so I look at shapes. It's one of the first things, and some of my friends, they say, oh, you stare at people. Yeah, because I'm kind of trying to figure out how would I paint this, what angles. Ooh, oh, and that shade, the light falls over here, so it does that curve. So if I want to do, I need to put more white, and this is why I stare, in case some of the people who know me reach that far in the video and I'm not throwing stuff at me. That's one of the reasons I might stare at you if I'm talking to you. So there are those androgynous types. Some of them do become gay, either because they manage to be groomed by other kids who happen to be horny, and because girls at their age is not putting up, so during their phase of sexual exploration, they are, they need to shag something, and if they can subdue or seduce someone who is equally as horny as them but looks way more feminine, and it happens a lot, then others start doing it, because once you learn that it can be used for more than just peeing, unless you are really heterosexual, you're going to do a lot of it. Again, I never did it. I had the option and I jumped out whenever I had that option. It was not really me. I always stopped, but I had several offers when I was a kid. I do not deny it, but I just said no. That's interesting. What's over there? Seems to be something over there. I think I've been here before. Seeing a bottle there somewhere. Seems to be a bottle. Is that a bottle? But anyway, now I got spider webs. This is a good thing. Yeah, I better not touch that. It's probably some respectful Finnish voodoo, and if the Vikings travel all the way up here to search for their shamans, I'm not messing with that. So it might be related, because as I said, the age of Pisces was very murky, very shady, very confusing, at least I didn't like it. I didn't like the whole religious aspect, nor the ideological aspect. They were very controlling, very manipulative, and we started having some breaks from it at the end of the age of Pisces. And now there is a veiled underground culture that is emerging, a global culture indeed, but not in the way that the globalists, the new globalists, there was an older globalism that was positive, then it was temporarily taken over by the new globalists. But there will be, that's the thing I wanted to talk about, that I mentioned briefly in one of my videos, about the new wave, the next wave of globalists, because it's, you see, that's the thing with humanity. The boat doesn't stop anywhere, like it keeps on going, so it never ends, and it can go back and it can go forward, but keeps moving. So regardless of what you do, if you try to stall it, it will just move in a completely unexpected direction, as it always happens. And it's fascinating, if not horrifying sometimes, to watch, because especially when some powerful people try to control everything. And I love that sentence from some emperor, who controls everything, controls nothing. Or who defends everything, defends nothing. And that's brilliant. Yeah, it's Shibui in so many ways. It's a perfect sentence because it's factual if you verify it. But as the age of Pisces tried to make everything murky, confusing, deny people of information, let's put it that way, deny people of real information. The age of Aquarius is going to remove that bar from the eyes of people, and it doesn't really matter what the powerful people try to do at the end of the day, because it doesn't seem to. I can be wrong, can always be wrong, but what if I'm right? The point is that as the age of Pisces tried to make it murky and confusing and secrecy, everything was a secrecy, while there was struggle ongoing. The age of Aquarius, I believe, this is too noisy. This road, this way is too noisy. I'm going back the other way. The age of Aquarius is going to release us, including all the morals that were created. They didn't exist. Some of the morals we currently have didn't exist because some people seem to be under the wrong impression that we always held those same moral concepts, and now they are trying to take them away from us. So no, we had them for the brief period, if you can call it brief, like for the about 2,000 years of the age of Pisces, and they are going to go away. Those morals are going to go away. And it has been predicted, or rather concluded, if you prefer those words, but people who are way more intelligent than I could ever be. I decided actually to reach my conclusions. I decided to do 180. And what they did, they became academics, they became scholars. I entered academia, I became a scholar with very high grades, had really good grades. I wonder, this is for bicycles. Maybe I shouldn't go there. Don't want to be driven over by a crazy biker. Oh, or maybe I should. But see, Landy, I got that from you. Damn you to heck. Anyway, crazy bitch. Anyway, based on all I'm seeing, and based in the symbolism of Aquarius per se, of the androgynous, beautiful man that served both gods and goddesses. So you conclude from that what you want. One could conclude they meant, was there to service them and their parties. We all know how parties were wild back in those days. So, yeah, what do you think he could be doing if he would please both gods and goddesses, right? In all their needs. It's a very polite way of saying, yeah, you guessed it. So, because if you think people are dirty now, I have reasons to believe that what will rule the future is androgyny. That's going to be the new thing, and it's going to overrule all this. I'm not saying there won't be clashes. Age of Aquarius might be an age of clash, but it's an age of subservience as well. It's an age where if you know how to play the game, you won't be bothered. And imperatives will be kind of shunned in a way. You will serve rather than be master in many ways without being submissive. However, submissiveness might be understood in many ways: tolerance, acceptance, agreements, common agreements, fellowship, in many ways, where you are not the sole master, but you need to be a part of the whole. And I'm not talking about the greater good, because the greater good was used under the age of Pisces as the greatest evil of them all. So the greater good is a lame excuse to torture, maim, politically persecute, and kill anyone who disagrees with you. So something that the age of Aquarius, by its own psychology, people of Aquarius are known to be scientists. They are known to be, this higher. Ants. I haven't seen them in a long while. Wow. So good to see them again. And unfortunately, accidentally stepped in several of them. Oh boy. So beautiful to be in nature again. God damn it, I am in nature now. God bless you. Let me do something I haven't done in ages. Oh, so nice. Did I just rip my pants? No, I didn't. Anyway. Just look around, people. Just look around. So, on this new age, now that I feel a bit dizzy, what will be the new people running? Here's where the people go skiing from all over the other countries. An Olympic skiing resort here where I am right now. So, in case you were wondering, if you have managed to catch the people while I was talking that were jumping in a humongous ski jump behind me, you would see, the path of the ants is getting narrow here. Cool. I didn't know they did that over here as well. Interesting. Common traits of a common species. So I think there will be a shift. All the things that the age of Pisces tried to prevent, tried to stop, tried to kill off, using, but we love you as an excuse. And we are very tolerant, but we'll kill you if you say otherwise. The age of Aquarius will unfold, will reveal, will make it thrive, will have it out in the open. And it's very interesting to see this openness already. We can see it in full bloom. Like the trannies, they are openly admitting their sexuality, which I find admirable. Because look, for the people who are trying to use morality or religiousness or even ideology, if you don't know, the ideologies that smashed religion were the most brutal against homosexualism. So they literally, because religion kind of left, like if you repented and redeemed yourself and paid the church a lot of money, they will, forgive you, my son, forgive you, my daughter. And there were even, up until the 19th century, there were even religious marriages religious marriages between men were allowed by the Vatican until the early 90s, when socialism started infiltrating the Catholic Church. They would even allow marriages between men. Those were common agreements of mutual faithfulness towards each other. So, between men, at least. There are books done by clever people about this topic, so you can just search in the web. I don't need to give you anything, I can just give you the names, and you go and search. Now you know they exist. All it takes for you is just look at it. Talking about looking at it. Look at it. Very interesting stuff, right? Let me see if it is in the right scope. No, it's not that. What are you doing? Oh no. Oh, the light is up here now. Haha, fantastic. I didn't know I had that feature. Anyway, I cannot reach the convert thing for another day. But I have reasons to conclude, based on all I'm seeing so far, that the next 2000 years we are going to see a huge development in human rights, at least in what pertains their leisure time and entertainment and personal preferences. Church will be collapsed. There will always be, there is always, as there has always been, like religions try to kill, and ideologies as well. Looking at you, communism, you know what you did. You're just that kind of ideology that will never admit to what you do wrong. It's always somebody else's fault. And that's what happened when you are created by sociopaths. So, prove me wrong. So, by the way, they're the ones making the claims. I can easily debunk. You understand? I didn't start the ideology. You make claims when you start an ideology. They haven't been able to prove them so far. Beautiful place. So all this persecution of gay people will be put to a halt, at least. Religions will lose their influence. Those big religions, they will cease to be. They will become part of history. Sure, there will always be an idiot, but an ideology is the same. It's inevitable. At some point, people get fed up and tired of what's proven again and again not to be. So, why do you think, or how do you think other, even ideologies came into being? Right? Because religions were obviously doing something wrong and people could notice it. And then when a new well-organized group of people, regardless of the fact if they were sociopaths or not, managed to group up to stand against it, they were successful because the people would just say, yeah, we are sick and tired of this. We need to try something else. Unfortunately, they were fooled, but that's for another day. Thing is, the classical age of Pisces, by the way, you are fooled into things. Very, very Pisces, using of emotion and all that. Now you can see the spasms of the dying culture, trying to adapt, trying to survive. It looks like the Terminator 1000, when he's dying in the movie, that the whole body is kind of collapsing on itself and trying to figure new shapes, new forms to try to get out of the fact that it's being melted down. So it's trying to stay alive, by trying to use whatever they can, but it's hopeless. It's just a matter of time. And I seriously hope that we survive, because there will be clashes. But my educated conclusion is that those ideas will die, because the culture is dying, because new concepts are being brought, not even by the will of the people or by humanity itself, but by forces that are way beyond our comprehension for now. Because if you do not know, our ability to perceive, even to perceive things, is extremely limited. We are very limited as a species. We can't see all the colors. We really can't. We can see a certain spectrum of colors, but there are several others, and we need to take that into consideration. So right now we are just figured out that it seems, correct me if I'm wrong, if I misunderstood anything, do tell me. It seems that 90% of elements out there, we haven't even found them, we haven't even discovered them, and what we are calling dark matter, because it's not in our current scales of knowledge, and we don't have yet the ability to bring it to us so we can analyze it. So it's very interesting. We are going to find out so many things, as we are already finding out, even in psychology. Like, you have to bear in mind that those sciences we currently have available, that we are just starting to scratch the surface, they are 200, 100 years old, like 300 years old, some of them. You know, we don't know a lot of stuff, and we are just starting to figure it out. So, and serious, if you feel depressed, as I used to, at some point I was very depressed. What kind of really started to cure me from the depression was checking news about technological advancements, all the new developments in both machinery or research or chemistry, all the new things. And then I felt like starting to paint and draw again, because I kind of have devoted myself for a decade at least in educating my children. So I was giving them everything I possibly could at their respective ages and their ability to understand. And I was with them and still am with them. I'm not letting them go. Shouldn't do that to children ever. It's the most horrible thing you can do to a child. Neglect. Oh my God. Why do people do that? So I was with them as much as I could be, and that led me to sacrificing my arts. It was worth it. It is worth it. My children are psychologically robust, and I'm proud of them for that. They definitely know how to stand up for themselves, which I'm always surprised when they do. You know, they do it in such a way that I thought, man, I couldn't figure that out. I really couldn't. But it's the structure you give them, you understand, that makes the difference. They can figure things out on their own. It's amazing to see. And they are really a betterment of us in many aspects. Ooh, birds. And my voice somehow projects here. Interesting. Being in the woods is fascinating. Just a minute. Amazing. So the ability to be yourself is what the age of, without the ego. The ego will be shunned a lot during the age of Aquarius, but your sexual preferences, who you truly are, in an animalistic sense even, although in a very humane way, with all the tolerance, and it will be like an age of Gandhi in a way. It will be, not that it will be a peaceful age, there will be war. War will just be different. War never changes. Oh, it does. It's true, it's still war. However, the way it's fought, right? I mean, come on. We have seen war evolve into the skies, right? And beyond now, with intercontinental ballistic missiles that you don't even see before it's too late. So let that sink in. So war has evolved a lot, and war now is more economical than anything else. We are slowly but surely absorbing the principles that Napoleon noted in his book, that I need to read. Definitely, I only read pieces of it, I don't deny it. But it's interesting. Oh, mosquitoes. Now I know why I left the rainforest. So it will be an age, maybe, where the androgynous people will have a massive advantage over other people. They will be praised and revered by the gods for their service. So, and I can already see that. I happen to know some androgynous people who are dressing to work as who they truly are in their own nature. Do you understand? They're occupying positions in offices, and as time goes by, they will occupy high positions in those offices because they're extremely competent. So it's interesting to see the changes, the difference, and I really hope in a way, because we don't need it, you understand? I don't know why people are so afraid of. Because, yeah, ideologies and religions, they try to kill off all the homosexuals during 2,000 years. You had a 2,000 years span. Let's put it in a way that the religious people can understand. God gave you 2,000 years to kill off all homosexuality from earth, to kill all the humans who happen to be homosexuals. God gave you that power for 2,000 years to get rid of them all, not let anyone alive. So one could conclude, if you really believe in God, and God gave you that much time to kill them off, and now suddenly, because God said, since you don't believe people rule the world, right? When the reason I'm stopping is because the area has bears, so they're only cute in cartoons. So I need to be careful. So we will have androgynous people in power, and it's going to be very interesting to see the whole thing. I just hope that they decide not to do what was done to them across the centuries, the last 2,000 years, and start killing. Ooh, that is a nice feather. Thank you. Can I pick it up? Do I have something I can give back? Don't really. Paper? You need paper? Can I give you paper for this beautiful present? I need to show you folks this. It's beautiful. That's beautiful, right? And now, because I have it on camera, I'll have it in my memories forever. And in the memories of you people. Look at that. Beautiful, huh? I never thought I would find such things here. Thank you. Oh, it's just amazing. Thank you for this experience. I hope you like the paper. So, yeah, remember, this is a metaphysical talk. So, because of all those things that we had in humanity for ages, and many times praised by many cultures, previous to the cultures of the age of Pisces, where this was shunned not just by the religious, but also by the ideologically driven, I must conclude, now based on seeing my friends who happen to be transsexual. I have some friends, never did anything with them, doesn't mean I'm one myself, and there's nothing wrong if I would be. Mind you, again, I'm not conservative, I'm not liberal, I am myself. And that's what I think that the age of Aquarius will bring. Your right to be your true self, where not being your true self will be kind of shunned and frowned upon. As before in time, it was not okay to be yourself because some lunatic, some bad person took power and decided you couldn't be. That was the age of Pisces. Not that other ages were too kind, but in the age of Pisces it pretty much culminated in mass murderers and really bloody holocausts and holodomors. So that actually Holodomor seemed to have killed more than the Holocaust, but that's for another topic. So we are reaching those ages where your true identity will be a good thing, provided you are tolerant, or hell might break loose, because it might be an age of anarchism. Really, might be. And not that we will become anarchic societies, although that would be great in a way, but because it's inevitable, because there are forces in motion that we are not even aware of. We can't measure them. We do not. That's the scientific position, by the way. The scientific position is we do not possess currently the technology necessary to research certain aspects of reality. So that's where we are. That's what we are finding out. We are finding out that we know nothing, Jon Snow. That's the reality, regardless what we wish to believe on. And right now I'm just wondering, where the heck am I? So yeah. Okay, the place is too crowded for bears. So I don't think bears like to be around a place where there's suddenly a full lunatic racing down a hill with his bicycle. And sure, bears are tough and all that, but they are not idiots either. Like, they, as us, if you ever watched Masha and the Bear, that's a scientific example, am I right? Bears don't like being annoyed. And after a while they get bored of smashing people's skull with their paw. So, but based on what I'm seeing so far, there won't be a return to the kind of religious mass control or ideological mass control. We might have some level of scientific control, but not, really not in the direction that many people are expecting, including the current powers. They don't know what's coming. Like, they think they got the handle of it now, but they don't know. Like, it's the story I was telling in a video I deleted because things got over the topic as they are kind of now. But it's not the dog that has the fleas, it's the fleas who have the dog. And that's one thing that I believe the powers, the ones who are in power right now, are going to find out. Because right now they are getting away with a lot of stuff, but for the first time people are openly, and that didn't used to be the case, but for the first time in a long time, people are openly debating about all the bad things. They actually know what the powerful today are doing wrong, and they can point it out, but this is what the current powers are trying to suppress. I really don't think, because we have things as the Barbra Streisand effect. If you're not familiar with that term, where have you been in the last 30 years? Where the more you try to suppress information, the more information will get released. During the age of Pisces, they tried to suppress information, and they were really successful. But as we humans are terrible little creatures, admirable in many ways, but terrible, we figured out, and eventually they sabotage their own, like, because they are human, they sabotage their own efforts. We really can't help ourselves, can we? They try to release information, it seems, what is called information overload. They try to overload people with information, try to feed people or force information, while releasing all kinds of information, including the serious information. But you see, as a species, what made us big is that we can recognize patterns, and once we recognize a factual pattern or a pattern that works, we stick to that pattern and we ignore everything else. And if you think I'm being absurd, all you need to do is to look at your nose, and you'll realize that something that you didn't see was there until I said look at your nose, and then you'll realize, whoops, there's a clump there that I haven't seen before, but now I know it's there. That's what I mean. You understand? We recognize valid patterns, useful patterns, and then we automatically or systemically ignore everything else by default, because it takes a lot of time and energy in our processors, like in our brain, to process all the information that we have available. So we pick some and we ignore the rest, which has led us to survive very well, thank you very much, because we can recognize patterns and stay away from danger and get closer to safety and ignore everything else that is irrelevant in between. So it's brilliant. Our brain managed to do that, and that's what we are doing right now. That's what we did when they started. I think around the 90s is when this got really big, and that was their faux de pas. That was their big mistake. They tried to push information overload, and that just made people recognize the valid patterns and start ignoring all the invalid, all the nonsense, all the lies, all the bullshit, and now they're trying to suppress information again. But now, because people have had access to information, remember what I said about the 50 years of Greek boom, because they had 50 years to of freedom to literally be. We didn't have that much time. We had like 30 years of information overload, and we learned in those 30 years to start recognizing patterns, positive patterns and negative patterns, what is true, what is not, what is factual, what is not. And we started pointing out what is factual, and the people who would point it out got popular, got famous really fast, especially those who were picking on low hanging fruit in that sense, because you are as strong as your weakest link. That's the truth. So they exploited the weak link from the powerful and the commanding, and now they're trying to suppress it, but it's too late, because people are also figuring out ways to create their own thing, which they used to taunt and mock people with. Oh, you don't have your website, create your own website. They created their own website. Oh, we are suppressing you now from the news channel. Create your own news channel. So they created their own news channel. Oh, you found out that we are now suppressing you from social networking. Oh, maybe you should make your own. They made, and they are still making, and they are still flourishing. I created one before the whole thing, but I just put it down because it was starting to become extensive work. Like, people were starting to write to me for support, which was easy stuff. I forgot my password, give me my password. And when you have 20 give me my password, you can figure out that in a month you'll have 100 people asking for 100 passwords. In 2 months you'll have 1,000 people asking you for 1,000 passwords and a day. And then I said, no, I have my kids to raise, I have my life to live, my video games to play. I'm not doing that, nor am I hiring anyone. But it was an interesting project. I learned a lot of stuff, and I think of doing it again when I have more time. So, but I'm taking it easy. I'm going easy. I'm making my video game first, because that I wanted to do a long time ago. And then during that I might develop a social network. Who knows? Now I'm free again, so that's a good thing. No, where am I in the city? I'm close to the city, am I? So yeah, we had empires, and we are going to have new empires, but they seemingly will be much more fair and much more fun, because between religious people, ideologically driven people, and gay people, I'll much rather have the gay and bisexual people close by, because they're fun, they're full of life. I am not one, but let's face it, they know how to throw a party. There's no one that can say no to that, right? So yeah, I'm going to stop it right here. Talked too much right now. So yeah, those are my reasons. If you understood any of it, good for you. If you didn't understand half of it and you think I just wasted 1 hour of your life, well, maybe I haven't. It will just knock you on later on in your life, because you'll start recognizing patterns around you and putting them together. Even if only your subconscious is working on it, you will do it from now, because now you have some other information and perspectives I posted out. So yeah, it will be the age of androgynous people, maybe an age of hedonism, but that's yet to be seen. I think there will be a lot of science into it, so it's going to be interesting. It won't be, at least, about suppression. They will try, but they will fail. Gotta go.